This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
Really looking forward to our next guest. We've been doing some research and Googling ahead, and some of the stuff we came across, and just to give you an idea of the amount of trash we're all creating. Average American throws out some 4.5 pounds of waste every day, which becomes 268 million tons of waste nationwide each year. 30 million tons of this waste is food, 27 million tons plastic, 18 million tons is paper and paperboard, not all of which gets recycled, Tim.
We're talking trash, garbage, waste, call it whatever you want. We produce a lot of it. It's got a massive environmental impact. It contributes to climate change. It also raises the question, Carol, what do we do with it and how can we be better about it?
Which brings us to our next guest. He's here in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Jon Vander Ark is president and CEO of the $46 billion market cap and publicly traded Republic Services based in Phoenix. Stock is up about 14% so far this year. Cascade Investments, an investment vehicle and holding company for Bill Gates, of course the co-founder of Microsoft, is the top shareholder in the company with about 35% of the outstanding stock. Big lead up. Jon, thank you so much for being here with us. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Listen, it's great to have you here and talk to us about the business, the bulk of which, contributes to what moves the balance sheet. Give us some perspective.
Well, we're kind of a backdoor view of the economy because everybody has something they need to dispose of. So we serve small, households, we serve small business, we serve large business, we serve national players, governments. So we really get it. We have a very diversified book of business across our almost $15 billion of revenue. And so that gives us a really good view of the economy. And we're very, spread out and we're resilient, obviously, because even in a down economy, everyone is still going to have something they're going to dispose of.
So what's your view on the economy since you have such a good view and vantage point?
We're still cautiously optimistic, right? The recession, we keep reading about it and hearing about it, and it's not really showing up in our P&L yet. Now, yeah. I would say that.
But it doesn't, you say, because you're kind of resilient. But how do you pick up on it?
You'd see some decline, right? You think about maybe a 3 to 5% drop in demand, right? If an economy is really going to pull back and be in recession. So construction, for example, is a portion of our business, less than 10%, but that's down about 3% year over year. So we saw that commercial and residential start slow, certainly into last year, and we kind of have a 6 to 9 month lag effect on that. So that's down a little bit, but auto's down a little bit in the first half, but then the industrial side of the business is just booming.
What do you need to see in order to go from cautiously optimistic to optimistic?
Well, listen, when I see housing starts, kind of predicted to be up next year, I think that's, we'll probably slow a little bit on construction into the early part of the first half, but then we'll pick up in the second half. And listen, I don't think all of the indices are fully accounting for some of the government spending that's coming in on infrastructure spend, and we're certainly a beneficiary of that. So we're seeing that, hit our business, and again, very, very strong.
So when you say the industrial side of your business is strong, give us a little bit more color on that.
Yeah, two sides of think about a major petrochemical player, right? Yeah. They have a lot of things they need to dispose of. Certainly some recycling, but special waste, hazardous waste, a lot of environmental services in the middle of that we take advantage of that. Or think about a brownfield remediation, opportunity where, we're in the front of the line there. We're doing the dirt cleanup there, and we're taking all those materials and bringing those to the right spot.
Which is the bigger part of your business? Give us an idea. Is it that side, or is it just the regular trash?
Yeah, it's a funny business. It's about, if you measure based on our customer count, which is 14 million, it's 90+% B2C. So you think about the homeowner where we actually service. If you measure where dollars change hands, it's more than 90% B2B. Because in most cities, the municipality contracts with us, and we consider that a business transaction.
Talk to me about these contracts, the moat, competitors that you have in some markets. What does the competitive landscape look like? Because every market is completely different. I don't know if you've spent time in New York City, but the trash collection cabal here is just
easy. Never a problem. Never see it on the sidewalks. Never
wild.
See rats.
It's completely wild. But what is the typical market for you?
It's a very local market, and so it's based on really where waste moves. Now it's starting to move further distances as landfills close, but in general, you think about a 60, 90 mile radius. That's kind of what defines a local market. And in our markets, we have 1,000 dots on the map in the U.S., serve customers across 49 states. We're number one or number two in more than 92% of our markets. So we really think about getting concentration because it's a density game, right? You think about time and weight. That's what kind of drives our economics in terms of collecting something. And then we want a recycling center and a landfill in that market to have vertical integration, and that's what really provides the moat.
How much of recycling is part of the business?
It's a growing part of the business, kind of 15% and growing.
Yeah.
And again, we see that as a big growth driver. That solid waste is actually shrinking on a per capita basis.
Okay.
Is that a good thing?
What does solid waste mean?
That's garbage. That's
Okay,
industry
sorry.
talk for garbage. So garbage is shrinking on a per capita basis, and recycling is growing. And listen, that's our plan. We're trying to drive that diversion. And when I started 10 years ago, people used to say, well, we make all our money at landfills because that was our highest margin business. And I'm a customer person. I said, landfills don't pay us a dime. Customers pay us. And so you need to charge and understand what the product is worth. And that's what we've done. We've taken recycling pricing on the street to probably 80% of solid waste 5 years ago. It's now 120%.
What does that mean?
And we've grown it faster.
What does that mean?
So Matt, think about a small business and having 2 containers.
Right.
That the truck comes up and picks, once a week or twice a week. 5 years ago, the price of that recycling service was 80% of the price of the garbage service, and now we flipped it. It's 120% because we've priced recycling way faster and we've grown recycling faster.
Does it also mean people want to be recycling
People,
more?
we know, we do the customer insight work. People are passionate about recycling.
Yeah.
And they want to know it goes to the right spot.
Does it though?
In our case, absolutely, right? That's part of our environmental responsibility, which is one of our values. And I would say most of the time, yes. There are always corner cases where some smaller operator is not doing the right thing on the back end. But most of the time, you can have pretty good insurance that if you're putting it in the bin, it's going to get recycled.
The issue over the last few years has been there isn't really those countries left to buy our recycling like China used to do.
Yeah.
China's not doing it at the same rate that they used to. So where do these plastics go?
Yeah, when China kind of shut their doors, we went from about 35% of our material going abroad to 0 in about 3 months.
Wow.
And so what's happened is those value chains have really gotten repositioned. So there's a lot of domestic manufacturing that's come online, particularly for fiber and paper. So now our supply is almost entirely domestic.
What about plastic?
Plastics is interesting. So most plastics today, rigid plastics, get downcycled. So think of your water bottle, think of your detergent bottle. That goes into a pipe, park bench, or carpet. Now, that's good. It's not going to go in the landfill, so it's going to get a second life. But after that, that's going to go in the landfill. So we're forward integrating into that. So to try to take that water bottle and get it back into food grade quality, and so it can go right back into a water bottle. And then we think we can turn that individual polymer 6, 7, or 8 times before eventually it gets degraded.
Is it expensive to do that?
Yeah, we're investing about $300 million to produce 4 of these centers across the U.S. The first one opens up in Vegas here in a few months, and we've contracted with Coca-Cola. And listen, we could sell out of that center 5 times over. We had to limit people's buy on the back end because there's such a short supply for this recycled plastic.
So go back to what Tim said. Does it really get recycled? Because we have all gotten really good at dividing up our garbage in multiple ways. And the question is, does it all really get recycled? Does the paper get recycled? Does the plastic get recycled? What guarantee do we all have that it's being done? How do we know?
Well, listen, not everything that you put in the recycling container is recyclable.
Fair.
Right? So if you put the clamshell you might get at the grocery store, that might be made with some recycled plastic, but it's not recyclable. And so one of the things that we're pushing on is working now back upstream to say, how do we get more things in the original form of PET or HDPE, that's the water bottle, and the detergent bottle and milk jug, so that it can get recycled and keep getting recycled.
I thought there was a little triangle on that.
Yeah, if it has the triangle.
Yeah, that's made with post-consumer content. It doesn't mean that particular thing is recyclable. So there's a huge opportunity for education here because consumers care and they want to do the right thing.
I have to say, I stand over my recycle. I'm like, does this really get recycled? If I clean it, is it gonna go?
It sounds like you spend a lot of energy doing this.
I actually do. I do care.
Empty, clean, and dry. Those are the simple rules.
But not everything that has that thing
is not.
Can we work on that messaging?
We can.
I feel like I've been lied to for 30 years.
I want to get back to our guest, Jon Vander Ark, President and CEO of Republic Services. He is still here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Jon, one thing I wanted to ask you is, when we were talking about it off air, your company and Waste Management, top players in this industry, both with ties to Wayne Huizenga. How do you think about, and you've been at your company for a decade or so?
10 years, yeah.
How do you think about the evolution of kind of how we collect trash, where it was, where it's going, the evolution?
Sure, yeah. I can just tell from my tenure, we started when I started, we talked about ourselves as a garbage company, and then it was a waste company, and then it was a waste and recycling company, and then a recycling waste company, and now environmental services and a sustainability company. And that's not just
Is it market? That's what I was
That's
gonna
just
ask
not
you.
marketing speak. That's actually where we're investing in the business. And again, I'm trying to challenge every ton that goes into a landfill, because hey, when I put it in a landfill, it's a cost to me. But if I can recycle it and reuse it and repurpose it, then I get a second benefit, a second stream from that. And by the way, landfills aren't being cited, right? That they're closing up. And so if I can extend the life of my landfill and I can get a second sale of that material in addition to collecting it, that's a win-win.
Does the free market solve this completely, or does it need government intervention to entice businesses, entice people to dispose of their waste differently?
Yeah, I think, listen, regulatory standards help, and we're forward integrating in plastics. We talked a little bit about that before. And we're doing that because we looked at what Europe's doing. And Europe has figured out a way to take that water bottle, and rather than having it downcycled into a pipe or a park bench or carpet, right? They've reused it, and they did it because the government put in regulatory standards that new water bottles needed a certain level of post-consumer content. And now you see that in California, you see that in Washington, you see that in New Jersey, and that will hit other states. And that's getting the CPG players to now say, hey, we have to have sustainable packaging, and that's driving us to make investments, right? We're investing $300 million in these centers, and we're doing it with a good return.
So talk to us a little bit about, you guys have some clean energy projects, right? You've done stuff with BP, landfill biogas to renewable natural gas. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have 67 projects historically. So when garbage decomposes, it produces two things. Leachate, which is like a gray water,
Yeah.
which we capture. Obviously, those landfills are lined. And then it produces methane. And methane is very destructive to the environment, obviously. So we've always flared off that methane to convert it to CO2,
Right.
which is about 17 times less harmful than the methane.
But it's still burning.
But it's still burning, right? And still waste. It's still energy going up in the air that could be converted. So 200 active landfills. We have 67 projects today where we take that methane and we push it through either a generator to produce electricity, or we clean it up and produce renewable natural gas. And we have now another 60 plus projects in the pipeline to continue to do that. And again, that's good for the environment. In some cases, we're powering the neighborhoods right around our facilities.
How much can you scale that up?
Well, you have to get down to a certain size of landfill. The CapEx, or the capital investment, doesn't justify today. Now,
Okay.
that changes over time. That'll innovate. But we're going to get to 75-80% of the gas flow across our landfills here over the next 5 years.
Let's talk M&A. U.S. ecology, broad exposure to hazardous waste. How are you thinking about deals moving forward?
Yeah, we're the great-great-grandchild of 1,000 acquisitions. So we do about 10 to 30 deals a year. This is a highly acquisitive space, and our competitors are also roll-ups over time. We think our pipeline is strong, and it's certainly strong in recycling and solid waste. We spent about $927 million in the first half on those deals. And then this environmental solutions business, right? U.S. Ecology was kind of the platform acquisition in that space. That provides an anchor for follow-on acquisitions, and our pipeline is pretty full in that side of the business as well.
What's the biggest problem you think we have right now with dealing with trash? We talk a lot about food waste and the impact it has certainly on the climate, but what do you think it is, the biggest problem right now? Is it just the quantity? Is it the
I think we need more innovation on the value chains to take things out of the landfill and make sure it's truly recyclable. And I think we need to get away from the headlines of what could be done and all the technologies. Again, a lot of the plastics recycling is a good example. There's mechanical recycling and there's chemical recycling.
Are you worried about EVs and batteries and all that good stuff?
Listen, we're bullish on EV. We're forward in, or we're going to go long on EV with our fleet. About 50% of our buy within 5 years will be electric vehicles.
Where do you get those? Who makes electric garbage trucks?
Well, we've got Pete.
Is it Rivian? Is it Tesla?
No, Pete and Mac today and other players all have converted trucks. So it's a conventional diesel truck that they're piloting, which, again, have limited application. The true game changer is McNeilis, who's a supplier in our space. They're owned by Oshkosh. Mm-hmm. They're building the first ever purpose-built studs-up refuse vehicle. And it's a huge deal because you can then take the weight out of the vehicle, which gives you enough battery that you can run a full day without taking away payload. So if we have to take an extra trip to the landfill, that's an hour of unproductive time for us.
Right.
We can't afford to do that. So these vehicles will have the same kind of fit and fitness as the diesel vehicle, but they'll be quieter. The cab space is 45% bigger for our drivers because you're taking the engine out of the front and it's batteries in the bottom. Quieter, lots of technology benefits. So we're excited about it.
No, but when I talked about batteries, like I do wonder about used batteries, old batteries, waste. Like, is that something that you think about?
Yeah, we have partners with that. Electronics recycling is another one.
It all happens.
Listen, it doesn't all happen perfectly, especially in other parts of the world. It happens very imperfectly. Here, that market is fairly well supplied on that front. We have partners, and we certainly collect that, and then we work with partners to process.
What don't we know? Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to ask where automation. We don't have too much time left. We got to get you back. Where is automation happening in your value chain right now? Is it beyond the idea of just taking the trucks and those trucks automatically pick up the trash and recycling? Is it further down in the value chain?
Yeah, it's every stage of it. So on collection, for example, one of the ways that we clean up the stream is we now have cameras. So when we tip your garbage container, we have a stream that can see, and we can see how much contamination is in the recycling. And so if you have a contaminated stream, we're going to send you a note and say, hey, your stream's a little dirty, clean it up. If you do it a second time, then we're going to charge you. And we understand how to change consumer behavior, because if you get charged...
See, this is why I stand over my garbage and I look at it.
And even a recycling center itself.
What happens in New Jersey when you make a mistake in your trash can? I don't want to know, Carol.
Sleeping with the fish. Is there an AI component? 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, in our recycling centers for sure. No, in our recycling centers for sure. That used to be people picking stuff, and now that's optical scanners and all kinds of things. Again, helps us produce a better product.
It's what?
Did you know we could talk about trash for so long?
I think it's interesting. There's a lot going on. Come back soon.
We will.
We enjoyed this. Jon Vander Ark, President and CEO of Republic Services, as we said, based in Phoenix. He stocks up about 14% year to date. Oh, we didn't get to talk about Bill Gates. That we will do next time. This is Bloomberg.